people of AA circled me and gave me
There's an old saying,
until I could
and
stand on
it's
my own
show
feet.
me the boy
And
of
then
7
10 years sober,
and
I
I'll show
was
you the man.
electrocuted and had a heart attack and all sorts of
around
stuff.
for
I shouldn't be
centuries.
here, but I am.
And for a
And
long
at that
time,
I knew
I might have
if
heard
I
sayings
knew
like that and
something
simply
about
nodded
me, I would
along without
forget.
really
I
stopping
knew
to
that.
let it sink in or
And then God
question
put this
or
other lady in
ponder
my path
about
who is still my
what they
sponsor
actually meant.
today. And she not only talks this
But when you
program,
begin
she walks it, she eats it,
to look
she
back
lives.
over your
She's
own
just
life, your own
incredible,
childhood, your own
incredible
patterns, your own
for this
relationships,
alcoholic.
and the way you
And she
respond to
introduced
love,
me
pain,
to me with the
rejection,
big book on the 12 and 12.
closeness, and
You
fear,
know, started off with the doctor's
something
opinion,
begins to happen.
and each time we went through a step,
You start to
we did a
realise
step in
that the
12
child
and 12, and it
you once were
introduced me
never
to me.
really
We got
disappeared.
to the third step.
The child
in
grew
her
older,
lounge room, and she
yes.
said, I want you on your knees now for the third step prayer. And I thought to myself, this is a little
We all
over
get
the top.
older.
But I was
But that
still
child learned
scared
how to
of this
survive,
lady, so I did
how to
what she
smile,
asked. And
how
then
to
we
keep
got to
going,
that
how to
bondage
function,
itself, and the floodgates
how to look
opened
strong,
up, and I realised
how
for
to
the
get through
first
life
time in my
or
life,
beneath
it had never been
all of that.
darkness and day.
So much of what we feel,
I wasn't
believe,
a
fear,
product
and long
of
for
my
was being
environment
shaped
as such. I was a
very
product
early
of
on.
me. I was a product
A
of
child
me.
doesn't grow up, a
And
child
I also
adapts.
realised that with that prayer, that
I
child,
believe
I didn't have to be there
that that
anymore.
is what this
That's
saying
when the
points
word
to.
blame left
By the
my
age of 7, the
vocabulary.
majority of
Don't
us
get
have
me wrong, I'm
already
human. I
started
still go that mongrel, that
learning
overall,
some of the
whatever.
deepest
But
lessons
I
of our
bring it back
lives.
to where it's meant to be.
We are
And
learning
the
what
word
love
blame
feels like.
left.
We are learning what
I
safety
forget.
feels like.
I used to say, I'm
We are learning what rejection feels
and then
like.
I
We are learning
also had my mantra used
whether
to
our
be,
emotions are welcomed or ignored.
because I honestly believe.
We're learning what we need to
When
do
I
to
came
feel
in here, I couldn't
accepted,
even say my
protected,
name. I had so much
praised,
hate for
comforted,
myself. I could
or
say
left
that I was an
alone.
alcoholic, but I would balk at saying Rhonda. I couldn't.
We mightn't have had the
couldn't
words
do it.
for any of this
And
back
at the
then,
end,
but that
because I
doesn't
hadn't
mean we
told
weren't
me.
learning. We were like
Now you're
sponges
starting to get to know me,
and
I'm not a
soaked
bad
up
person.
everything we
I was
saw,
told that,
felt,
Rhonda, you're
and
a sick
emotionally
person trying to
experienced.
get well, not a bad person trying to get good.
We were
And I
learning
thought,
all the
that's okay for
time.
you
We were
guys.
watching
That's okay for
faces,
you, but you don't know me.
tones of
You don't
voices,
know
moods,
me.
arguments,
Mum called me
silence,
the
affection,
guts
criticism,
the bad seed, right
distance,
from the very
warmth,
age. So I knew I was
and the way
good.
people
I
dealt
knew
with
that,
pain.
you know.
We
And
were
in
taking
here, I was
all
just
of that
like
in and building a
just
picture
loved.
of life.
That
We were
beautiful
building a
man
picture
that
of
spoke to
love,
me that night on my
of
last
people,
drink,
of ourselves,
he picked up a drink
of what
8 years
relationships
later
are
and
meant to
died.
feel and what
Thank
we
you, Zach.
have to do in order to matter.
And I always
That is why
know,
childhood
I always know
matters
that
so
he
much,
was there
not because
at the
everything
right
is
time. God had
fixed
put there
forever
the right person
by the age of
to
7,
speak to me,
and not because we
so
are
that it would
trapped
finally be brought
by
to
our
my
early
knees.
years
You know, I can't
and can
do
never
what AA
change,
Circle
but because
gave
those
me
years
all these years, I
are
can't
where
do
so
it.
many of our foundations are laid.
And you know, and you just was electrocuted.
The early
I had a
years
heart
shape
attack
the
and all sorts
emotional
of
language we
stuff. I shouldn't
carry
be
into
here, but I am.
childhood.
And at
They
that
shape our
time,
beliefs,
I knew
our nervous
if I
system,
didn't
our
do
reactions,
something about me,
our
I
sense
would
of
do
self,
it again. I knew that.
and the stories
And
we
then God
began to
put this
tell
other
ourselves
lady in my
about
path
who we
is
are.
still my sponsor today.
And many of those
And
stories
she not only talks this program, she
don't begin
walks
in
it, she
adulthood,
eats it,
they
she
begin
she
in
is
childhood.
incredible.
I know
for
this in my own life.
alcoholic.
When I
And
started
she
really thinking
introduced
about
me
love
to me with the big book
and
of the
about
12 and 12.
why people can struggle so
You know,
much by
started
giving
off
it
with
and
the doctor's
receiving it,
opinion,
trusting
and
it,
each
or
time we went
even
through a
knowing
step, we
what it
ended that
is,
step in the 12 and 12.
I found myself coming back to
We
one
got to
simple
the third
truth.
step in her
My
lounge
truth.
room, and she said, I want you on your knees now.
And the way many of us understand love has a great deal to do with how love was shown to us
still scared of this
when we were
lady,
young.
so I did what she asked.
And think about that.
And then we got to that bondage of self, and the
Now,
floodgates opened.
this doesn't
up,
mean
and I realised
our
for the
parents didn't
first
love each
time
other.
in my life, it had never
This
been
doesn't
darkness
mean
and
they were bad
day.
people.
I wasn't a product of
That doesn't
my
mean they set out to
environment.
cause
I
us
was a product of me. I was a
anyone
product
else harm or cause us harm. It
And I
simply
also
means that the
realised
majority of
that
us
prayer that
can only pass
wouldn't
on
be there anymore.
what we know,
That's when the word
what we were
blame
shown,
left my
and what we
vocabulary.
ourselves
And don't get me wrong,
learned
I'm human.
from
I
those
can
who
still
came
do that
before
one
us,
more, that whatever,
i.e. our parents, our
But I
caregivers,
bring it back to where it's meant to
those type of
be.
people.
And the word
And maybe some of us felt
because
love,
I was a victim.
but it
I
was
used to
never
say, I'm a
spoken.
victim of life.
Maybe some of us were
And then
cared
I
for,
also had
but
my
never
mantra used to
comforted.
be, good things don't happen
Maybe
to
some of us were protected and provided for,
When I
but
came
never
here, I
truly
couldn't
seen.
even say my name.
And maybe some
I
of
had
us
so
were
much
loved
hate
in
for
practical
me.
ways,
I could say that I was an
but not in
alcoholic,
emotional
but I
ways.
would balk at saying
Maybe some of us
I
were
couldn't do it.
taught
I
responsibility,
couldn't do it.
discipline, and survive it, but not softness, affection, or emotional openness.
Get to know me, and I'm not a bad person.
And that leaves a
I was
mark.
told that, Rhonda, you're a sick
I know for
person
me,
trying to get well,
speaking
you're a bad
personally,
person trying to get good. And I thought, that's okay
I
for
never
you
grew
guys.
up in
That's
a
okay.
household
But
where
don't
love was
tell
openly
me.
expressed in a way that looked soft or
You know, my mum
tender.
called me the
I never saw my dad bring
bad seed
my
from the very
mum
early
flowers.
stage. So I knew I was
I never saw him
I
hug
knew,
her
you know,
when she was upset.
And in here, I was just loved.
I never saw that kind of visible affection between them.
That beautiful man that spoke to me
Now,
that night.
that's not an attack on anybody, it's simply the truth of what I saw and what I did not see. And what we don't see can teach us just as much as what we do. Children learn not through instruction, but through observation. We learn what love is by watching it. We learn what love is not by the absence of it. We learn what is normal through repetition. We learn what to expect through experience. And we learn how to respond to emotion through what is mirrored back to us.
And at that time,
So think about this.
I didn't do something about
If a child grows up in a home where affection is shown, where emotions are allowed, where comfort is given, where warmth is felt,
she walks it, she eats it,
where hugs are natural, where reassurance is present, it's there, and where love is expressed clearly, that child carries something powerful into adulthood. Not perfection, and not immunity from pain, but a template that says, this is what care can look like. Now there's a flip side to that coin. But what if a child grows up in a home where affection is missing, where emotions are brushed aside, where vulnerability feels unsafe, where shouting replaces listening, where silence replaces warmth, or where the emotional needs of a child are not fully met? That child may grow into adulthood carrying very different beliefs. That adult may believe love has to be earned. They might believe they are too much. They might believe they need to stay quiet to stay safe. They might believe that needing comfort is weakness. They might believe distance is normal. They might believe affection is uncomfortable. They might believe rejection is always close by or soon to follow. They might believe they have to perform, to please, to fix, or prove in order to be worthy of love. And the hardest part is this, that these beliefs often don't feel like beliefs. They feel like truth. This is how powerful early conditioning is. As adults, we might think we are simply reacting to what is happening in the present moment. But very often we are responding through the conditioning of the child we once were. A tone of voice from a partner can instantly stir up childhood memories, feelings. Someone pulling away can awaken feelings far bigger than the moment itself. A perceived rejection can cut far deeper than it seems it should. Distance can hurt more than we know how to explain. Affection, there's another. Affection can feel unfamiliar. Consistency can feel suspicious. And real love can feel uncomfortable simply because it is not what we were trained to recognize. This is why so much of adulthood can become a repetition of childhood unless we stop and look at it honestly. We don't just live from where we are now. Very often we live from what shaped us then. And none of this means there is something wrong with us. That is one of the most important parts of all of this. The majority of us have spent far too much of our lives asking ourselves, I believe, the wrong question. We ask ourselves, what's wrong with me? Why do I react like this? Why do I struggle with this? Why do I fear this? Why do I pull away from the very thing I say I want? But when we begin to understand how deeply childhood shapes us, a different question starts to emerge.
And I also realised that
A gentler question, a more honest one, a more compassionate one.
That's when the word
And I believe
left
it's
my
this.
vocabulary. And don't get me wrong,
What happened to me?
That whatever or whatever. But I bring it back to where it's
Think about
meant
that.
to be.
What happened
And the
to
word
me?
blame left because I was a
Now,
victim.
that question
I used
really
to
does
I used to say,
change
I'm a
our
victim of
perception.
life. And then I had a
Because when we
my mantra used to be good things don't happen to me.
ask what is wrong with
Because I
me,
honestly
we
believe.
judge ourselves.
When I came in here, I couldn't even say.
When we ask what
I
happened
had
to me,
so much
we
hate.
begin to understand
I could say
ourselves.
that I was an alcoholic.
And understanding
but I
is the
would
beginning
saying, Rhonda,
of compassion.
Could not do
When we begin to look at our own lives through this lens, lots of things start to make more sense.
I was told that, Rhonda,
We
you're a
begin
sick
to
person
understand
trying to get well, not a bad person
why
trying to
we
get
can
good.
find certain
And I thought,
kinds
that's
of
okay for
love
you guys. That's
hard to
okay.
receive.
You don't know me. You
We
don't
begin to understand why certain words, tones trigger us so deeply. We begin to understand why we fear abandonment, why we crave approval, why we overgive, why we shut down, why we stay too long in relationships maybe that never truly worked, why we struggle to trust, why we expect disappointment, or why we can feel lonely even in the company of people who truly care for us. Because the body remembers, the heart remembers, the nervous system remembers. Even when the mind cannot fully explain it, something in us still reacts. And that is why healing, people talk about healing all the time, and healing for me is just a state of coming back to normality. But healing is not just about positive thinking. It's not just about telling ourselves to move on. It's not just about pretending the past no longer matters. Healing is becoming aware. It's about becoming aware of the conditioning, aware of the beliefs, aware of the stories, aware of the patterns, and aware of the emotional reflexes that have followed us from childhood into adult life. And that awareness is powerful, because the moment we become aware, we are no longer living completely on autopilot. The moment we become aware, we create room. Some people call it space. That moment we create that room, that space, we create choice. And that moment we create choice, change becomes possible. We don't have to remain loyal to the pain of the past. That is something I deeply believe in. Yes, the past shapes us, yes. The child in us learns certain things, yes. And yes, those early years mattered. Yes, some of us are carrying pain that we never had the chance to understand when it first entered our lives. But none of that means we are condemned to stay here. We can become aware of what we learned. We can question the beliefs we formed. We can notice the stories we've been telling ourselves over and over here for years. We can stop treating old conditioning as the present truth. We can begin to give ourselves what we mightn't have received. We can learn a new way of relating to ourselves. We can learn a new way of relating to love to other people. And that is where hope lives. Not in pretending that the past never touched us. Not in denying our wounds. Not in blaming everybody forever. But in becoming conscious enough to stop living blindly from those old places. The child in us still lives on. Not in the childish way, and not in a weak way, but in a deeply human way. That child lives in our fears, our needs, our triggers, our longing to feel accepted, our reaction to criticism, our fear of being left out, our desire to be held, to be seen, to be chosen, to be loved. And in that value we place on our own worth.
And shouldn't be here, but I am.
They're adults walking
And
around
at that
carrying
time,
childhood
I knew that if I
pain
couldn't do
in grown
something
bodies.
about me, I would
Some look strong on the outside,
And
but
then God put this
underneath,
other lady in my
they're
path
still
who was
carrying
still my sponsor
emotions
today. And she
they were
not
never
only
given the
taught
chance to
this
understand.
program, she walked
Some
it,
look
she lived it,
successful,
she
but
just-
inside,
just
they still
incredible
feel
this
unworthy.
alcoholic.
Some
And she
seem
introduced
independent,
me with the big book and the 12 and
but
12.
they are terrified of
I
closeness.
started off with the doctor's
Some
opinion,
seem loving,
and
but they
each time
don't
went
know
through a
how to
step, we
receive
then read
love
that step
back.
in the 12 and 12, and it
Some seem
introduced me to
calm,
me.
but inside they are always bracing for rejection. Some learn to hide everything so well that even they no longer realize how much they are carrying.
So I did what she asked.
This is why
And we got to
I
that
believe
one
compassion
step,
matters
and
so
the
much,
floodgates opened up,
not to
and I
pity
realised for the first time in my life,
and not to
never
excuse,
been a
but
I
compassion.
wasn't a product
But
of
when we
my
start to see
environment.
ourselves clearly,
I was a product of
something within us softens. We start to understand why we became the way we became. Harsh judgment begins to loosen its grip on us. We begin to see that so many of our struggles are not random. They are rooted. They come from somewhere. They make sense when we see that, see it in context. And with that understanding, we can begin to treat ourselves differently. We can stop attacking ourselves for our reactions and start becoming curious about them. We can stop shaming ourselves for our patterns and start looking at where they came from. We can stop seeing ourselves as a problem to be fixed and start seeing ourselves as someone whose pain deserves understanding. This is a very different way of living. It's also the beginning of peace. Because we can't truly change what we refuse to look at. We cannot heal what we keep on denying. We cannot change a new story by blindly living inside the old one. So at some point, the majority of us have to become willing to sit down with ourselves, honestly, and ask some uncomfortable but necessary questions. And maybe those questions are, what did I learn about love when I was young? What did I learn about safety? What did I learn about expressing my emotions? What did I learn about being comforted? What did I learn about closeness? What did I learn about my value? What did I learn I had to do in order to feel loved?
And at that time, I knew.
What did I come to believe about myself that I still carry today?
And then God put this
Those questions matter. And even if the answers hurt, they also open up the door to freedom, because once we see the old story, we no longer have to keep living it as though it is the only one available to us. We can write new stories of love with more honesty in them, stories of worth and less fear, stories of connection with more courage in them, stories where we stop measuring ourselves by old wounds, stories where we stop expecting the past to define the future, stories where we begin to meet ourselves with tenderness instead of cruelty. We can learn to give ourselves understanding. We can learn to give ourselves patience. We can learn to give ourselves the kindness we may have needed years ago. We can learn to become safe for ourselves. We can learn that love doesn't always have to hurt. We can learn that closeness doesn't always end in loss. We can learn that being seen doesn't always end in rejection. And we can learn that our worth is not dependent on how others once treated us. Now, this is not always fast work. It's not always neat work. It's not always easy work, but it's sacred work. Because when we begin to understand the child we once were, we start to become the adult we were always capable of being. Not a perfect adult, not a finished adult, but a conscious one, a compassionate one, an honest one, a healing one.
I was told that.
And maybe that's a deeper meaning inside that old saying for me, show me the boy at 7 and I will show you the man. Yes, I believe there's truth in it, but maybe there's another truth too.
My mum called me the
show me the person who is willing to understand the child they once were.
I knew that,
And I will show you someone who can heal. To me, that's where true change begins. It begins when we stop running from the past and start making peace with it. It begins when we stop asking, what is wrong with me, and start asking what happened to me. It begins when we stop judging the pain and start listening to it. It begins when we stop living only through conditioning and begin living through awareness. It begins when we realize that the child in us doesn't need condemnation. That child needs understanding. And maybe the greatest gift we can give ourselves is to sit with our own story honestly and look at our patterns without shame, to recognize what shaped us, to understand we were shown to see how those early years still echo in our lives today, and then look at them with compassion, courage and truth, and give ourselves the opportunity to begin again. Because the past may explain us, but it doesn't have to imprison us. We can make peace with where we came from. We can make peace with what we didn't receive. We can make peace with the old pain that has followed us for years. And when we do that, we stop handing over our future to our past. We start choosing differently. We start loving differently. We start seeing differently. We start living differently. And that's not weakness, that's strength. And real strength is not found in pretending we were never affected. Real strength is found in being honest enough to admit that we were. Real strength is found in looking inward at ourselves. Real strength is found in learning a new way. Real strength is found in choosing awareness over avoidance. And real strength is found in compassion. So if this old saying tells us anything, maybe it tells us this: the child matters, the early years mattered, what we saw matters, what we felt matters, what we learned matters, but awareness matters too, compassion matters too, healing matters too, and the life we choose to build from this point on matters too. The child in us may still be there in our fears, our needs, our longings, and our idea of what love is, but so is the adult who now has the chance to understand that child. And that is where the story can begin to change.
My mum called me the gutter snipe or the bad seed right from the very early age, so I knew I was no good. I knew that, and in here I was just loved back, just loved back. That beautiful man that spoke to me that night on my last drink, he picked up a drink 18 months later and died, drank himself to death. And I always know that he was there that night for me. God had put him there, the right person to speak to me so that it would finally be brought to my knees. I can't do this without you guys. Even after all these years, I can't do this. My time's up and I'm going to finish, I promise. It's just, my other children,